Yeah, everything's fine. Yeah, good. No, it was timing.
Yeah.
No, one of the guys out there has a boot on. One of Claude's guys.
One of my
we were
guys.
talking about. That's all we were talking about. Yeah. Okay, we did have a practice with just our helmets and shorts. And I thought it went well. Very few missed assignments with the number 1 units. Number 2 units had a little more problems getting it right the first time around, but overall it was pretty good. We'll get to do it again tomorrow, which is good. Hopefully we can make sure that we can reduce any kind of communication errors the best we can, so we'll be ready to play fast. So it's a pretty day. I've heard it might rain tomorrow. Is that right? Might have to work around that.
The next day or two.
Might have to work around that a little bit. Hopefully not, but it's good to get it in today. So y'all can ask me if Jarvis practiced.
Did Jarvis practice?
There'll be an injury report that'll come out here in just a minute. That's what Claude told me to say.
Oh, okay.
Claude.
Yeah, we do it.
Claude. Claude, did Jarvis practice?
You can't believe everything you hear.
So you did practice.
You gotta work for your money.
For our money, it shouldn't be very hard.
Yeah.
Any other questions? You don't think anybody cares about.
It is, you have to admit, it is obviously an all-American outside linebacker.
That's
A lot of attention. A lot of attention on him.
And then you.
Positive
I'm
attention.
sure you would understand that. I don't really want the whole world to know what's going on either, because somebody has to play us as well and decide whether they're planning for him or not planning for him. So that's why I'm not going to say anything.
How about the job Jordan Jenkins is doing at that same position?
I like him. He's
Does he present the same kind of challenges?
well, he's very disciplined in what he does. He's one of those kids that when you teach him something, he tries to do it just the way you tell him to do it. He creates good habits on a daily basis. He's got a ton of reps for a freshman, and he's taking full advantage of them. But yeah, he has a lot of the physical attributes that you'd want to have in a great rush guy, and a guy that can play that position. So I think he could play it very well.
Does he remind you of any young freshmen at this age, and maybe somebody you've coached before?
There's a guy named, he wasn't at Georgia. His last name was Reynolds, Jamal Reynolds, I think it was. Kind of same body type, real athletic, fast, smart kid. Really. But I don't know if Jamal kind of showed up quite as big and physical, as Jordan is right now.
Coach, you mentioned earlier this week on your radio show that Vince Dooley and you had a conversation last week.
Right.
Can you kind of expound on that, maybe?
Well, Coach Dooley will visit from time to time, or he'll write a note or something during the season, and because it was an open date, he thought he'd pop in and see if I was around, and he probably had other things to do besides see me, would be my guess. While he was in the building, he decided to come by, and I say that, I actually saw him out in the hallway, so he may not even be coming to see me. But anyway, we ended up sitting down and talking a little bit, and I think one of the conversations we had was, how you address your team after a loss like that, and one of the very important things is you keep everybody unified. You keep them all together. You're worried about the morale of the team, but you also have to correct mistakes. You also have to be real about what happened. So, my philosophy on it was when the game was over, I don't think anybody needed a beat down right about then. They already got one. We already got one, not they. We did it as a staff and as a team. And then I knew there'd be plenty of time to work on the corrections and make sure we're getting back on track the way we should be.
What's your, I think it's been asked in the past, but I've forgotten. What's
scoreboard watching in terms of situation like Saturday, where I guess there's another
this Saturday
game,
coming up? Well, first of all, I don't think there's any way you could keep anybody from finding out what's going on in the world of college football. So I don't think there's much doubt that even if I try to say, I don't want anybody to say anything about that game, I don't want to hear anything, you may come off the bus or you might get on the bus and the bus driver says something. I mean, you got to clue everybody in because everybody loves college football and everybody's going to be, everybody's going to be watching that game. So I don't really worry too much about it. What I'm not doing is focusing on it. I don't want to sit there and have that game become a distraction in any way to our preparation for our game.
How do you avoid it being a distraction like that day or even on the sideline? You always sometimes see highlights of teams seeing a result.
Well, like
that
I said,
impacts them.
I think, like I said, I don't think we'll be able to stop whether or not anybody knows what happened in the ball game. I mean, I think everybody is going to know what happened in the ball game. I'm not expecting that we can keep it some kind of a secret, or even that I want to keep it a secret. I mean, the reality of that situation is, South Carolina's got 3 more games to play, I think, in league play, not just one, and we've got 4 games to play in league play. So, again, we know we've got to focus on our business, or it won't mean anything.
Hey, speaking of which, you might be interested to know that Spurrier just said a little while ago that Lattimore might not play on Saturday.
Lattimore?
Yeah, has a hip injury. I guess he's doubtful.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
Yeah. Well,
there was another, somebody said D. Lyman or something had an issue too.
They had a bunch of flu. A bunch of their star players sat out with flu.
Quarles
For this week?
Quarles threw a punch in the LSU game, and he's saying that he might just the playing time is probably how he'll discipline.
Yeah. Well, that's not
He
the
didn't have a
question.
great track record with
Should we
that.
talk about Kentucky? What do you think? I think we should.
Going back to Jordan in general, this freshman group so far had, I would guess in your mind, I mean, it's showing out when you look at the tailbacks and the kickers and Jordan and
Yes.
even Harvey Clemens getting the special teams captain thing. Is this
Very good class. Very, very. The talent base is great, really. The learning curve is normal. You have some that pick it up faster than others, and some of them pick it up faster because they get the reps. And Jordan's getting a ton of reps where another guy isn't, and so Jordan's has the advantage of doing it over and over and over again until you get it. And same thing with those tailbacks. If we had the year where we had Lumpkin and Danny Ware and Thomas Brown and all those guys, 3 veterans that have been 100-yard rushers and played in all these big games, and would those 2 guys have gotten that many reps? As they're getting right now, I don't know. If Theus had 2 veteran tackles in front of him, would he got all those reps? So, I mean, a lot of them learn it because they're getting the opportunity to learn it and getting all the reps and the knowledge of knowing, I better learn it because I'm going to be playing and people are counting on me. Where it's a little, like a guy like Fatone about. I mean, he's very similar to Murray in how he is getting. He's learning the system about as well as you can without getting a lot of repetitions. He's getting his reps in the meeting. He's getting his reps watching film. He's getting his reps. He's getting very few reps right now, but he is still learning because he is going out of his way to learn. He's practicing. I mean, he practices on his own all the time. He's grabbing somebody out there and trying to get him to throw a catch with him because he wants to be ready when it's time to compete for him, whenever that may come for him. But most guys that don't get the reps don't learn it quite as fast because they just don't get that experience. And even Fatone, I mean, if he was getting every single rep with the #1 unit and he started and played every game, I mean, who knows how much far along he would be. But I do appreciate, his work ethic and how he goes about it.
Coach, is it safe to say that at this point in the season that Mayor Hall is the #1 fullback going forward? And what have you seen from him the first 6 weeks?
Yeah, he has been from the spring. Yes, from the spring. Merritt, he's a very tough kid. He's very sharp. He makes very few missed assignments. It's tough to find a guy that is that. I mean, there's no other word than tough. There aren't many guys that are that tough that can figure it out and have enough athleticism to adjust. Because you always hear about the tailback reading blocks and trying to find the right hole. With the fullback, a lot of times, if he's a lead blocker, he's got to read the blocking schemes just as much, and maybe even more so than the back. Because if the fullback does it right, and the tailback follows him, then the fullback's right, then the tailback's right. So, so you got to have a little bit of athleticism to be able to change direction and still strike somebody on the move. It's not easy to do. He pass protects well. He didn't have many opportunities to catch the ball, but I think he catches the ball plenty good enough to play the position. And we've already seen just a couple opportunities of him running the football. But he's gonna hammer it in there, and he's not gonna be an easy guy to bring down. So, I mean, he's definitely the number one fullback.
Or the last couple of years, I guess you had several guys from defense that you would play on offense occasionally, Boykin and Brandon Smith. And I know Malcolm this year, obviously switching the way he has. But has there been anyone else? I know you talked about Harvey Clemens, maybe, or.
Well, we could have taken Brandon Smith a little bit, but we haven't. Like you said, I mean, the Malcolm Mitchell thing was. If you're going to grab somebody from over there and let him play the offense, it's going to be Malcolm, especially early in the year. And now that he's almost a full-time receiver, he's about a 90% of the time receiver, and spending a little time defensively to keep up to speed. But the goal right now is for him to be as good of a receiver as he can be. And the other thing too is Wooten last year didn't play, and some of the things that B. Smith did are some of the things that Wooten can do just fine, so we don't really feel a need to do that right now.
Time for one more?
How have Marshall and Gurley responded during the bye week and now after being, kind of limited in the last game moving forward? How important will it be to move to get back on track?
They're just gung-ho guys that are coming to work every day, trying to practice well, try to help the team. I think they still have that, I don't know, whatever freshmen have that are kind of, they're not in awe of the situation, but they're enjoying it, and they're it's just kind of nothing's old hat for them yet, and I don't think they have this expectation of I deserve this or I deserve that. I hope they never get that. I doubt they will, because they're just that kind of people. But I'm just right now they're just showing up, trying to get better at what they do, and if you give them the ball, they're going to do their best.
Okay.